All right, then we will call the meeting of the Plan Commission this Tuesday evening, April 27th, 2021. I would guess it's about 5:35. If our clerk would please do a roll call to establish a quorum.
Jay Hoffner.
Here.
Terry Rucker.
Here.
Derek Danielle.
Here.
Derek Salisbury.
Here.
Linda Waite.
Here.
Mary Ellen Ramstack.
Here.
Hugh Zettel.
Here.
All right, so we do have a quorum. Everyone is here. Thank you once again for participating in our meetings. And also, if our clerk would verify that the agenda has been properly noticed.
The agenda has been properly noticed.
And then I would look for a motion to adopt the agenda, please.
Mary Ellen moves.
And second,
Laird.
Laird. All right, all those in favor of adopting the agenda as noticed signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, public participation. Do we have anybody wishing to speak? Yes, Mr. Mischke.
Good evening, everyone. You know who I am. I'm James Vincent Mitchie. I live at 4159 Bayshore Drive in Sevastopol. Frequent visitor, frequent flyer. First, I want to reiterate my thanks to all of you on the commission for dedicating so much time and thought to this very important ordinance. It's been a long haul. While the effort has been long and intense, I believe the ordinance aptly finds the middle ground between the need to protect the rights and expectations of residents, the rights of property owners that wish to offset part of their costs, and others that wish to sell to the short-term rental marketplace. I wish you luck, patience, and tolerance at the May 11th public hearing. Better thee than me. I do think that it's important to explain and before and after the meeting, if you, in some manner, the constraints of the state law. I don't think that's properly or widely understood that you can't make them illegal. The interpretation and wording of the current, particularly minimum stay provision, and as much as you can, which properties are subject to this ordinance provisions. I think that's going to be important to not have a lot of misunderstanding at the public meeting and needless friction at the hearing. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak this evening? Okay. All right, then I hope you've all had a chance to look at our previous minutes from April 13th, 2021. I would look for a motion to accept those and place on file.
Also moved.
Laird.
Seconded. You?
Hugh. All right, any comments, corrections, discussion on the previous minutes? Thank you to our clerk, Amy, for another fine job. All those in favor of placing the minutes on file signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried. So before we get into our pending business, I thought I would kind of give a recap on what has happened in the last week. You have a lot of papers at your desk this evening that have been received as late as 4 o'clock this afternoon. So we gave you a chance to look those over. At our annual meeting last Tuesday evening, a resolution was read by one of our town residents, Mike Carr, on behalf of Door County Vacation Rental Association. This group incorporated as of April 12th, 2021, and I was told it is made up of 30 or so Door County homeowners. I do not know if they're all in Sevastopol or throughout Door County. I do not know. Anyway, they have retained an attorney from the Reinhardt Law Firm in Milwaukee, and that attorney has now contacted our town attorney, and you all have her, I believe it's a 3-page letter or so that you've had an opportunity to read. So now it's in the hands, I would consider it a legal matter, it's in the hands of the attorneys. The resolution was just made, although it was read last Tuesday evening, the printed version was just made available to us this afternoon. And again, you have those copies before you. The resolution does not ask or request, it directs the town board to engage in mediation with Destination Door County. That's our Door County Visitor Bureau, who has also expressed a challenge to our proposed ordinance. And as of 2 p.m. this afternoon, it's also on the agenda for Destination Sturgeon Bay. So that kind of brings everybody up to speed on what's happened over the last 6 or 7 days. I mentioned this at the annual meeting as well. The Plan Commission does not have decision-making authority. We listen, we do our homework, and we make recommendations on what we believe is in the best interests of our community. The ordinance that we have been addressing since 2018 is in response to residents seeking to retain and sustain their residential neighborhoods. We are recommending some occupancy and groundwater standards. We're hoping to get some safety and cohesive best practices among neighbors, rental owners, and guests. Door County has more residential rental units than any other county in Wisconsin, I am told. There were 4 new short-term rentals permitted in Sevastopol within the last month. So our comprehensive plan kind of gives us a hint on how we want Sevastopol to look 3 years from now, 10 years from now. We'll continue working through this ordinance, and we will expect to have an updated draft posted hopefully tomorrow, and that will be the latest draft then to be addressed at our public hearing on May 11th. Okay? So we will look at our ordinance again. As of, I think, 3 o'clock, 3:30 this afternoon, we have some proposed language there. Hugh, maybe you would like to just go through the ordinance. You've been doing a fine job. We have the parking suggestion. We have the 1 stay per week language. So
Sure.
if you would like to handle that, I would appreciate it.
Yep. So you have a document from Attorney Counsel Sullivan that was late this afternoon. There's 2 proposed changes based on her review that she is suggesting. One is relating to Section 6, Part D, item number 5, regarding parking.
Can you turn your microphone up a little bit? Sorry.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Hard to hear. Good?
Dan, maybe if we open up the windows, this will qualify as outdoors with the new CDC guidelines, and I can take my mask off.
We've got a lot of echo in here,
Is that
so I don't know, turning it up is not gonna be
Yeah,
good.
that'll just cause some feedback. Okay, so
Just leave it where it was, Amy, and let him
I'll
talk.
just,
about it.
yeah, item 5, or that, item 5D, Attorney Sullivan has some questions about the on-street parking statement and suggests that we just reference the parking ordinance for the town. I think from the discussions that we had, I think, a lot of our discussion was off-street versus on-street and trying to clarify what off-street versus on-street parking was. I think the other challenge is looking at short-term rentals. The county has a parking ordinance. Unfortunately, they don't define tourist rooming houses as a business type. They have bed and breakfast, hotels, other commercial properties. They have residential dwellings defined, and they define the minimum number of parking spaces, but they don't have their ordinance updated just to reflect the current state of of short-term rentals and tourist rooming houses in the county. So, that's, so that ordinance, doesn't address that need as well. So, there's really two avenues. One is get the county to update their parking ordinance, and I know that they had talked about doing some updates that kind of reflect what's going on. I know that that's been
Housekeeping,
discussed
yeah.
with the county, RPC. And, another option is, doing further refinement to the existing town ordinance. So I think probably, based on Council Sullivan's recommendation, and her recommendation is basically just to make it short and sweet on 6 and just say parking shall be consistent with the town ordinance and just state, which is number 05-2016.
So now our attorney did not reference Chapter 7 of the Door County zoning ordinance. So are we not going to reference it either? Could we say parking shall be consistent with town ordinance number so-and-so and Door County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance Chapter 7? Of course, the response will be, well, we don't know what that says. So we would need to have both of those, our ordinance and that section of the county ordinance readily available, maybe in the packet that we start putting together for short-term rental owners, with the application and the permit and all that. Or are we just going to say consistent with our town ordinance? Any thoughts?
Put both. List both.
You're for both? And we would have to run that past her, of course. Anybody else? Mr. Chairman, did you want to comment on that?
So reference both ordinances?
I don't know the answer to that myself. Since we're under county zoning, I wonder if that wouldn't be an automatic.
Right.
So if we just stipulated the town ordinance, that would probably be enough, but we'd have to ask.
Because everybody is subject to the zoning ordinance, so maybe just, like you said, just stick with our town.
Let's just try ours.
Okay, yeah,
All right, so we'll
And-
update,
okay.
we'll update section 6.5D to basically just say parking shall be consistent with town ordinance number 05-2016.
All right. And just for your information, that ordinance, the general provisions, not in front of driveways, not in an intersection, not blocking traffic, must be off the improved surface or street, so, okay. So
Yeah.
we're good, everybody's good with that change, correct?
Yep.
Okay, good.
So we're going to totally replace what is already listed in D5?
Yep. That's my understanding.
Yes.
That'll be down to one sentence. Parking shall be consistent with town ordinance, so-and-so.
We save at least one tree with that, Mary Ellen.
Yeah,
Even if it's on a county road.
We make it up with the next one. It's under county.
I think, Linda, during the application process, what might also be helpful for some of the applications, some owners may think that their road is a private road, but it's actually a town road, while others may also be, are considered private roads. I think for the most part, when you look at Bayshore Drive itself and Glidden Drive, those are county roads, so that definitely, county ordinances would prevail. But I think there's looking at some listings, they talk about being on a private road. Well, the road is really a cul-de-sac, but it's actually a town road. So I think those are some things we'd have to clarify so that there's not a misunderstanding of governance of the ordinance on a private road versus town roads. Okay. The second item on Attorney Sullivan's document for feedback is relative to our discussion at the last meeting, and that is redoing section 6D1 removing the minimum 6 nights per week language, and instead improve the context of that, you know, based on the understanding of the commissioners about the 1 stay per week. So you have that language. I'll just read it aloud. 6D1. For any rental of a residential dwelling, if the rental is less than 7 consecutive days, the subsequent rental shall not begin until at least 7 days after the first day of the preceding rental, unless the subsequent rental is for a period of 7 consecutive days or more.
Okay. And Hugh did a nice little spreadsheet, and I've dumbed that down a little bit to my own drawing over here. So if I'm misunderstanding anything, please let me know. And I'm going to stay on this side so Laddie can get a shot of this. So Hugh's spreadsheet, I guess the main thing is 1 stay per week period. So if you're renting your place for more than 7 days, we don't monitor that. So if you are renting Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 1 stay in a 6-night period or 7-day period, the language says, for any rental of a dwelling, if the rental is less than 7 days, the subsequent rental does not start until at least 7 days after the first day. So if you're renting Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you don't start renting again your next guests until the following week. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Does everybody agree? Okay. So if you rent Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, again, 7 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You don't rent again until the next week. Am I interpreting that correctly? Is that everyone's understanding?
Yep.
1 stay within at least a 7-day period.
With the exception, Linda, of anyone renting another 7-day period.
More than 7 days,
Right.
right. This is only if you're renting less than 7 days. If you rent for 7 days, you don't fall under this.
And it's consecutive, Linda, just in relative to the
Consecutive,
language, just
correct.
referring to the language that she has here.
Right.
Less than 7
Okay,
Consecutive.
days.
does that work out then to 1 stay per 6 nights?
1 set of guests
Yes.
per 6 nights, right? Because if you're renting, again, anytime you exceed or get to 7 days, you're out of the picture. Only
6 nights is less than 7.
less than 7 consecutive days. Less than 7 days. Unless the subsequent rental is for a period of 7 days or more, then you would not fall under that 1 stay per week. So this is the language recommended for our attorney. Do we have any additional questions on that?
Why did you go to from 7 nights to 6 nights, or from 6 nights to 7 nights?
The statute says any rental less or more than 7 days or more, we don't, we cannot regulate that.
So does it matter, does it matter in the week if it, like you said, if they rent Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? What if they didn't rent the time beforehand? Can that count as your 7 days? Or does it, you said only after? Can it matter before or after?
I don't understand.
Give me an example.
You know where you showed where it says Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, your top line?
Uh-huh.
And then you said, okay, well now they can't rent until the next Wednesday?
Yeah,
What about the time beforehand? What if that's not rented?
the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, if it's not rented to the same party, if Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is not rented to the same party, and besides, that would be 7 days or more then, so it would
But
not apply.
you said subsequent, which means after. Does it matter if it's before or after?
For any rental of a residential dwelling, if the rental is less than 7 consecutive days, the subsequent rental shall not begin until at least 7 days after the first day of the preceding rental. Unless the subsequent rental is
Subsequent means
for
after,
7 days
correct?
or more.
But I'm
It would have
asking
to
about
be
beforehand.
after Tuesday, right.
What would be,
But I'm asking about beforehand.
Before would be the people before that.
You're within that 7-day period, so.
Okay.
Okay, so basically, one stay per every 6 nights, consecutive.
For every
nights.
7 nights.
So if the Olsons are in there on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and they only wanted 3 nights, the Smiths won't be able to enter until the following Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
but they can choose to rent 1 to 6 nights.
Oh, sure.
I'm just,
We have
to her
not,
point.
we have not addressed a minimum night stay at this point. 1 stay per week, I think that was our original intent from the get-go to make it more palatable for the residential neighborhood. Yes, Jane?
So you're thinking, or the thinking is to replace 6D1 as it stands right now?
That whole line will come out.
Okay, that's what I
So
want to
line-
see, because they're,
Right, line 82 on our most recent draft, that sentence will, it's, right now it says no residential dwelling may be rented for a period of less than 6 consecutive nights. That is out. That is out, and it will be replaced with this paragraph. Jean, did you have a question?
Well, in theory, I like it, but I see one potential problem that occurs in the fall. It's called President, or is it Columbus Day? I can't, Columbus Day.
Weekend.
Yeah, so a renter comes up and they rent Friday, Saturday, Sunday, okay? No problem with that. Then what you have are the leaf peepers, God love them, because we've all been there, who wants to come up and do after the following weekend. So if they rent out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then they wouldn't be able to rent out again until the following Friday
Right.
on that.
Correct.
Now, I don't have a problem with it, but they may be tying themselves up the short-term rental. And that's not our problem. But I could see it would be an issue for some of the short-term rentals on that weekend.
how so?
Well, because many people come up, I know people who come up on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from the Milwaukee area just to look at leaves, and not, they don't want to be part of the crowds. But it's going to put the short-term rental places at a disadvantage. They'll have to watch their bookings, because, or else they'll have more than,
We'll talk about a means to monitor that shortly.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Mary Ann?
Yep, this is great. What was the rationale on the part of the town attorney in bringing this forward?
Well, when we started, first we started with the 6-night minimum that you had to rent a place for 6 nights.
Right.
Now, some of us understood that as, oh, okay, only one party or one set of guests every 6 nights.
Right.
Some of us understood it that you had to make your person rent for 6 nights. So this kind of solves the problem. It's the same effect, but it doesn't make a mandatory, at this point, it doesn't have a minimum night stay. So you could stay for 2 nights. Again, you don't rent again for 6 nights. So
Thank you.
that was the logic behind that. Okay. So Hugh and I also one of the questions that was raised at our last meeting was monitoring if we go with this type of model. Hugh organized a Zoom meeting with the host compliance, the Granicus company, and Hugh, do you want to recap what their logic was on that and how they plan to monitor?
Sure. In the discussion Linda and I had with the two Granicus representatives, again, one of the things Granicus does is they provide STR kind of monitoring services. All their data that they get is publicly available, so it's mainly derived from the advertising and online platforms where people advertise and provide information about their properties that are available. They do have a means of alerting the town on potential stays that occur during periods of time. You know, calendars are, you know, they can't measure it proactively. In other words, they can't look at a calendar and say, you know, how many stays are there, because calendars are just either blocked or not blocked. But based on the information that are available on the various platforms and using their, you know, their computer analytics, they basically have a way to alert the town if they suspect that there were, say, multiple stays within a 1 week period, or that may want to be raised to the town, and then the town has the ability, you know, basically to ask for information from the owner just to confirm whether or not they had, you know, 1 night or 2 nights, or, you know, or multiple stays instead of the 1 stay per week. So, you know, everything is, you know, from the reporting is after the fact, you know, because they can't, you know, there's just not enough information to do it, you know, live on the site. And again, they do this, you know, by taking advantage of computers that, you know, can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So they do multiple scrubs of the various platform websites every week. So they have the ability to gather that information and then, again, alert the town.
So then they would, our STR at the address blah, 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 which, would show up as, for instance, on Airbnb or something like that.
Correct.
When they scrub their checking, so they'd say, oh, this place is
This
rented
may be correct.
for 5 days or
Right.
whatever.
Right. Or this one rented twice within, say,
Oh,
our
okay.
criteria. Or, and they showed us this live on their platform, you know, they may become aware of a property that's now online offering their place for sale, but yet it's not on our radar yet, or it's not on the Door County Tourism Zone's radar. So they'll also alert us when new properties become online that we don't know about.
Okay, when you say for sale, you meant for rent?
For rent, that's
For
what I
rent,
meant.
not-
Yes, yes,
okay.
sorry, when they're offering their home.
Property.
For rental, yes. So it provides that information, and then the town can determine, you know, with their procedures, how they want to respond.
Okay.
Follow up.
And like Hugh said, we probably won't learn it until after the fact and
Well,
after
yeah.
they look at postings and things like that. I specifically asked the question if this was public information, and they said, yep, it's all out there on the internet. So, you know, guests post comments, and so we don't have to worry about infringing on anybody's rights. It's all public information.
Okay.
So after that conversation, or during the conversation, I was quite impressed with their capabilities, really was. So, all right, anything else that we should talk about in the ordinance? Otherwise, with those 2 changes, that will be the draft that is posted by our clerk on the website. That will be the draft that we talk about, or that will be getting our input at the public hearing on May 11th. Okay? And then the second item, our public hearing on May 11th, I noticed in the Advocate that it was published. And we went over this, I think, last month or last meeting about the conduct of business. I'll just give some highlights here. It is Tuesday, May 11th, 2021, starting at 5:30 p.m. here at the Town Hall. We'll allow public comments and concerns on the proposed ordinance. purpose is to gather input. There'll be no back and forth discussion. Let's see, seating will be limited to approximately 25 people inside this room. Anybody wishing to speak is strongly urged to register with our clerk in advance, and she will attempt to schedule an approximate time for you. Also, written comments, we will accept all written comments, like we have been in the past. We have been collating and summarizing those. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes. And let's see, we're going to have like a satellite office over at the Institute Saloon. This worked very well when we had our public hearing on the quarry project. That worked very well. You could watch it on YouTube or live over at the saloon, and if somebody here said, okay, speakers can come over, just drive on over. So I think that will work fine. It will be broadcast live on our channel 986 and also on the YouTube. Let's see. So we'll call the public hearing to order. We'll read the notice. Sevastopol residents will have the opportunity to speak first, limited to 3 minutes. Gathering input only, no discussion. So that for better recording purposes, you'll be asked to use the podium and a microphone. And that should be that. Have I missed anything?
Is there time in the schedule for, just from the quarry experience, can we factor in a bio break in there somewhere? Just so that in the scheduling?
I'm going to ask, how late do you want to go? Like when I'm scheduling out these appointments.
That's a good question.
Do you want
Right.
the hard stop at 10 o'clock, 9:30? Because then we'll start again the following day if needed.
How many do you have so far?
I probably have between 15 and 20 people so far.
Okay.
That's an hour, okay.
So that's an hour right there.
Right. We can maybe plan on a short break. If we have 25 people in here and they all speak for their 3 minutes, that would give them a chance to leave, and those at the saloon or anybody else, another 25 people could come in. So we do have the following night reserved, correct? I think if we need to continue it, continuing date if needed is the following night, May 12th, again at 5:30, same procedure. I was thinking about, do we need a hall monitor? If we have 25 people seated in here, are we going to have people standing around outside? I don't know if we need a hall monitor.
We will have either a sheriff's deputy or a fire department here for capacity purposes.
They could probably keep an eye on
Yeah,
that.
and we're encouraging, the whole idea is we're encouraging people to come in, speak, since there's no exchange of information, depart, let someone else come in next.
Yeah. And I know the League of Women Voters, when they have their candidate debates and whatever, they usually have a timekeeper. So I was thinking of maybe getting somebody to, all right, this is 60 seconds. All right, now you have 30 seconds. Now you have 15. And now you have 0. Now, the Plan Commission, we could do this ourselves, but I don't want anybody to be distracted from listening to the comments that are made. Or I just keep my phone on my corner here and I could do it myself as well. But, so why don't we think about that? Any thoughts?
I don't think it
I
should
give
be
you
one of
the
us.
0, you
It
get
should
the
be
30.
someone else.
Somebody
Someone
else.
else other
Maybe
than
we
us.
could round up, maybe a couple students or something like that. To
Okay.
help us out, have their cell phone, because we want to stay on track, otherwise it will be
Yeah, well, you guys.
into midnight.
Daughter.
So, yeah, I don't know if this is this big enough, or do we make this bigger? If you're at the podium, and I'm holding this here, or they're holding it on a
Flip
here.
chart.
And here, yeah, flip chart.
The Sevastopol have a shot clock we can use.
I think this will work fine. We'll put them in some protector sheets, and then, yep, you can just flip it over, or ring binder, just flip as we go.
It's either that or music.
Or music?
Yeah, we could ramp up like they do the Oscars, and boot them right off.
Oh, when your time's up, you have to. Okay, so we'll plan on doing something about this. And those were the only 2 points I had. So, any other questions on the public hearing? I hope you will all be here. Yes, Pam?
Just one question. If I have an owner that would like to write a letter to give it to me to speak, am I able to do that on their behalf?
If that's your 3 minutes,
Right.
that's your 3 minutes then.
Right, but I mean, I can do that for them? Or
Why
are
would
you,
they just submit a letter, because then you would have it ahead of time?
well, because your letters aren't going to be read for the public to hear, correct? Or is somebody at the end of the night going to read, since it's a public hearing, all the letters that you receive, are those going to be read out loud so the public can hear what everybody has to say?
No, I didn't plan on reading those aloud.
But isn't that something that
Public
you should?
it's public information. If somebody would like to look at the letters, you can certainly do that, but we're not going to take a couple hours to read,
No.
which I hate to say, but many repetitive comments on both sides.
And we're not going to do any of that. I waive my time to Mr. Zettel. I waive my 3 minutes to, you get 1 3-minute shot.
Okay.
Okay? Submit written comments is probably the best practice. We have read every email, every letter that's come up to this point.
Just to summarize that, I think what you're saying is, yes, you can read that letter, but that's really your 3 minutes, and you can't do that for anyone else then,
Right.
as well. So you have the one person you can do it for.
Okay.
One other comment that came up at one of the meetings that I picked up and pursued, which was, I think somebody wanted us, or the suggestion came up, that we not deal with the occupancy, septic tank, private wastewater treatment issue, that be dealt with at the county level. So I called Mariah, who is the head of the planning department for Door County. They have zero capacity and zero interest in doing this. They don't disagree that it would be great to have it throughout the county, but they don't see any probability of that happening. The suggestion that came back, which is probably a good one, is at some point in time, the county, us, a group perhaps, approach DATCAP and make it part of their licensing agreement, which makes sense since they're there for inspection purposes and everything else, and they could theoretically incorporate that very easily. But there's no interest on the county. It's also been to the Resource Planning Committee, which would be the group that would initiate that after a recommendation from the Planning Committee. And at this point in time, same kind of comments, going nowhere quickly. So it's a good thing it's in our potential ordinance.
Well, I'm pretty certain that the DATCAP occupancy, even though it doesn't, I think it refers to the sanitary system, the private system,
Right.
but it says occupancy is per the design of your private on-site wastewater system,
Right.
or the occupancy granted by the state tourist rooming license, so.
Yeah, they do no enforcement
Right.
on POUs. They only do sizing of rooms from a safety perspective with the specs they have in their DATCAP. And they'll look at sleeping room sizing, volume. That's the only thing that they'll do. And they don't do anything relative to contacting the county sanitarian or that. They don't do any of that either.
I know.
And they only do, and they reference in, because we asked that question last fall, and they specifically said that that's within the purview of the department, the DSPS department, which owns the regulation on pouts.
And I mean, it'd be something if we really chase it down later to get like kitchens involved and others that could go back and work that through. And maybe even, depending on how eager you are, not you, meaning in general, the legislative days at some point in time. So,
Yeah.
just enough of that.
An ordinance is, or town enforcement, if we don't do something like that, we've had an incident, as Dan, on Glen Drive, where literally someone put their listing available in February, but yet in the property that they bought that previous July, their septic was failed. So they put a listing with a known septic tank, that it was failed, and if the county's not going to enforce that, that's, the Troy County Tourism Zone granted them a permit. They didn't notify DATCAP, and we subsequently learned, once we heard about that the property was permitted, we contacted DATCAP and said, hey, can you just confirm that this property has a license? And they confirmed that they didn't, and then we also confirmed for DATCAP that, oh, by the way, that property is on a failed house. Well, with that information, they contacted the sanitarian to get confirmation from the county sanitarian, and from there, denied their application and told them to basically take their
But that was a one-time situation,
took their listing offline.
correct?
Right.
That's a one-time situation, if you will, correct? I mean, it sounds like the county isn't gonna check. DATCAP's not gonna check. So-
DATCAP won't check unless someone notifies.
Unless there's a complaint.
Someone a complaint, or if someone says, there's irregularities, or there's an existing order, in this case, a failed pout is an existing order from the town, or excuse me, from the county, to basically get it fixed within a period of time.
Well, then, the fact that we have it in this is, to me,
Well, it's a good thing.
it's a good thing, yeah.
Well, especially since the county, if you recall, was it maybe 5-6 years ago, where the county made an effort up and down the county
Yeah.
to have everyone's septic tested.
Mhm.
And if your septic failed, there was even funds available, grant funds available to help you replace your septic. So, we've come so far, we don't want to backtrack and,
Correct, yeah.
and the nutrient management plans for the farmers and
I think
the
it,
fields
didn't
and
it,
the runoff. I mean, we've come so
Yeah.
far.
didn't
So-
it used to be that if a property was changing hands via a sale, then the septic system was inspected and had to be brought up to date, blah, blah.
They have one.
But then somewhere, I thought it was a little longer than 5-6 years ago, Linda, but I could be,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know, it was quite a while ago. The county was going to do basically, my words, spot checking, on systems, but you don't hear too much about that.
Yeah. Well, and they had offered the well testing, I think,
Yeah,
back then
that's
too.
true.
The various municipalities could sign up for well testing at a reduced price.
Okay.
Okay, do we need to talk about anything else? So the public hearing on May 11th, we did schedule our next meeting then. So the public hearing is on a Tuesday. I believe we scheduled our next meeting for that following Thursday. Is that correct, Amy?
That is correct.
So Thursday, May 13th would be our next meeting. Thursday, May 13th. We'll say 5:30 PM again. And we'll see what comes out of that public hearing.
Do we have a purpose for that meeting, or is it just to talk over how
No,
how it went?
will we have another draft? I don't know. Well, maybe if we'll talk another draft. We'll just see, I think maybe just to take a look at the comments and, respond among the commission here and, maybe get a recommendation to the town board. The town board meets on May 17th. I don't know if it's going to be on the agenda for May or not, but. All righty? Everybody's good?
Yep.
Questions or anything like that? Okay, Terry? All good to go? All right, then I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right, Terry,
Second?
second by Derek. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you.